The desert stretched far under a bright sky. The wind moved the sand in endless waves, and the heat pressed on every traveler who crossed that land. Far from any city, far from any road, a team of human explorers made their way with machines and scanners. They were not here for gold or treasure. They were here for signals, strange energy that had been recorded under the surface months ago. Aaron, the leader of the group, stood at the front. He was not a man of many words, but his eyes showed determination. He held a small scanner that gave faint sounds each time it caught the hidden signal. The sound had grown stronger since morning, and he knew they were close. Behind him walked Myra, a skilled engineer. She was checking the machines that carried supplies. She often reminded the others to stay careful in the heat. Beside her walked Ryan, a young historian who studied ancient cultures of Earth and other worlds. He carried books and tablets, convinced that history could guide the present. Two more explorers completed the team, both trained in survival and mapping. Together they formed a small but strong group, driven by curiosity and duty. As they moved, the scanner gave a sharp tone. Aaron raised his hand, and the group stopped. He looked at the sand under his feet. It seemed ordinary, but the signal was strongest here. Myra quickly set down a ground probe. When she activated it, the device sent waves into the earth. The screen filled with shapes, and Myra's eyes widened. "There is something here," she said. "It is not natural. The structure is large, made of stone, and it goes deep." The team began digging. Hours passed as they used both machines and hands. The sun burned, and sweat covered their faces, but their excitement gave them strength. Slowly the sand revealed sharp edges. Stones unlike any desert rock appeared. Carvings marked their surface, faint but clear. The group exchanged looks filled with wonder and fear. Ryan brushed the sand away with care. His fingers traced the marks. "These are not Earth symbols," he said. "Yet they feel familiar. Look at this line, it almost shows a star, and here, what seems like a ship." The more they uncovered, the stranger it became. Finally, after a long day, a pointed tip stood free of the sand. It was not a broken rock but the peak of a pyramid. The size of the stones told them this was no small building. This was a giant structure, hidden for who knew how many centuries or even millennia. As night fell, the explorers set camp around the site. The wind grew colder, and the desert sky opened with countless stars. The pyramid tip reflected a faint glow as if the stone itself remembered light. Aaron stood before it, lost in thought. He had seen ruins on many planets, but none gave him such a heavy feeling. This was not only a building. It was a message waiting to be read. When dawn came, the team returned to work. With machines clearing the sand faster, more of the pyramid rose before their eyes. Each new surface showed carvings of tall figures wrapped in long bands. Their eyes were drawn as glowing circles. Some figures stood beside shapes of stars, others beside strange vessels that seemed like ships flying between worlds. The explorers grew silent as they studied the walls. Ryan whispered that the figures looked like the mummies of old Earth legends, but taller and stronger. Myra noted that the lines were cut with such skill they had not faded even after countless years. Aaron gathered the group. "We did not come for myths. We came for answers. This pyramid gives energy signals unlike anything known. We must go inside and see what lies within." The team agreed, though a quiet fear moved among them. They worked for 2 more days, uncovering an entrance buried under tons of sand. Finally, a dark passage opened. Cold air flowed out, strange for a desert. The machines around them flickered as if something drained their power. Myra checked her tools. The field inside is not normal. It takes energy from our devices. We must use light carefully, or it may die without warning. Ryan looked into the dark passage. Legends of Earth spoke of tombs where kings rested. But this is no tomb. This is something older, something greater. If the figures on the wall are true, then this place may not even be from our world. The team prepared ropes, lamps, and recorders. Each person packed food and water for days. They stood before the opening, shadows stretching around them. Aaron stepped forward. We came for discovery. Now we stand at the edge of it. This pyramid has waited under sand for ages. Tonight it will no longer be silent. We go in together, and we face whatever it hides. The others nodded, their hearts filled with both fear and hope. Slowly, one by one, they crossed the line of stone and stepped into the darkness of the lost pyramid of shadows. The passage swallowed the explorers as they stepped into the shadow of the pyramid. Their lamps lit the narrow walls, showing carvings that stretched from floor to ceiling. The stone was smooth, almost polished, and strange patterns moved across its surface as if light slid over water. The air was cool and heavy, carrying the smell of dust and time. Aaron led the way with steady steps. His lamp shone far ahead, but the passage seemed endless. Behind him, Myra checked her tools. The readings were strange. The pyramid gave off a constant field that drained their energy cells. Lights flickered as if warning them to turn back. Still, the group pushed on. Ryan walked close to the walls, his eyes wide as he read the carvings. They showed tall figures wrapped in bands like mummies, standing beside strange stars. Their hands stretched toward symbols that looked like ships, towers, and crystals. He placed his hand against the stone, whispering to himself. This is not just decoration. It is a record. These people wanted us to see this. The passage turned sharply and opened into a chamber. The explorers froze as their lamps revealed the sight. The walls were covered with murals of battles in the sky. Ships fired beams at one another, and wrapped figures stood with weapons shaped like staffs. Some murals showed planets burning, while others showed figures kneeling before the mummies. Myra gasped. This is history. Whoever built this fought wars beyond anything we know. The team set their packs down and began to study the chamber. The stone floor was covered with fine sand, but no footprints marked it. It was as if no living being had walked here since the pyramid was sealed. The silence pressed on them until even the sound of their breath felt loud. As they studied, Aaron noticed something strange. His lamp cast a shadow of his own figure on the wall, yet the carvings cast no shadow at all. The images seemed to glow faintly, as if holding their own light. He called the others to see. Ryan bent closer and saw tiny crystals within the stone. They shimmered like stars when touched by light. This is advanced work, Ryan said. Stone mixed with crystal, cut to last forever. Whoever built this wanted their story to remain for all time. The group moved deeper into the chamber and found another passage. This one sloped down, twisting into the dark. A faint humming sound echoed from below, steady and rhythmic like a giant heart. The team looked at each other, uneasy but curious. They descended slowly. The walls here changed. Instead of murals of battles, they showed rows of tall figures standing in silence. Their eyes were wide and glowing. Their hands were folded across their chests. It was as if they were waiting. Ryan whispered, "These look like guardians." The passage ended at a wide doorway sealed by a slab of stone. Carvings on it showed the same mummy-like figures, this time forming a circle around a crystal. Myra touched the surface and felt warmth. She placed a scanner against it, but the device sparked and died. "The pyramid does not allow our machines," she said. "It wants us to use our hands, not our tools." Aaron studied the carvings. The circle of figures all faced inward, their arms raised. In the middle was a symbol that looked like a sun. He pressed his hand against the sun. For a moment nothing happened. Then the stone shifted. The slab rumbled and slid to the side, revealing another chamber. Cold air poured out, so strong it made their lamps flicker. They stepped inside slowly. The chamber was vast, with pillars rising high into darkness. Between the pillars stood long stone coffins, each sealed and marked with glowing symbols. There were dozens, maybe hundreds, arranged in rows like soldiers waiting for orders. The explorers felt their hearts race. None of them spoke for a long time. Finally Myra said, "These are not empty. They feel alive." Aaron moved closer to one coffin. He saw the faint outline of a tall figure inside, wrapped tightly. Its chest rose slightly, then fell, as if breathing in the slow rhythm of centuries. Aaron stepped back quickly, his face pale. "They are not dead," he said. "They are waiting." The team gathered their courage and began to walk between the rows. Every coffin they passed showed the same thing. Figures rested within, unmoving but not lifeless. Their eyes were shut, yet the glowing crystals on their bands pulsed like weak stars. At the far end of the chamber, another doorway stood. Unlike the others, it was not sealed. Darkness yawned beyond it, and the humming sound grew louder. It felt like a call, pulling them deeper. Before moving on, Ryan raised his hand. "We must be careful. These guardians are not statues. They are living, held in sleep by something beyond our understanding. If they wake, what will they see in us? Enemies, or guests?" Aaron looked at the rows once more. His mind told him to leave, but his heart refused. Humanity had crossed stars for knowledge, and here it was before them. He lifted his lamp and spoke with firm voice. "We came for discovery. These beings have guarded this place for ages. If they wake, we will face them with courage. For now, we move forward. The answers are ahead." The explorers tightened their grips on their lamps and stepped toward the open passage. Behind them, the silent guardians lay in their coffins, glowing faintly, as if watching without eyes. The explorers stood at the edge of the dark passage. The sound of humming grew stronger, filling the air like a slow drum. It seemed to echo not only in their ears but inside their chests. Aaron held his lamp higher, and the group followed him carefully. Their footsteps stirred dust that had rested undisturbed for countless years. The passage led them into a wide hall. The ceiling rose so high that their lights could not touch it. Pillars lined both sides, carved with spirals and glowing marks. At the center of the hall stood a round platform made of black stone. On it rested a large crystal, faintly glowing, beating in rhythm with the hum. The explorers gathered around it, staring in awe. The crystal looked alive, as if it carried a heart of light within. Myra knelt beside it, placing her hand near its surface. "This is the source," she said softly. "It is powering the pyramid. It has been active for ages." Ryan circled the platform, reading the carvings at its base. They showed tall figures bowing before the crystal, with their hands raised high. The symbols told a story of power, life, and endless duty. Ryan's voice trembled as he translated. "They gave their strength to this crystal. It holds them in sleep. It keeps them alive. The group fell silent. The thought was both wonder and warning. If the crystal kept the guardians alive, what would happen if it was disturbed? Aaron studied the crystal closely. He felt warmth coming from it, a strange warmth that seemed to reach his mind. For a moment, he thought he saw faint images inside the glow, figures walking, ships flying, battles raging across stars. His breath quickened. Suddenly, the hum grew louder. The glow of the crystal brightened. The ground shook beneath their feet. Myra shouted, "Something is happening. Step back." They all moved away as the crystal pulsed like a rising sun. The vibration spread through the hall and into the chambers behind them. A deep rumble echoed. The explorers turned in fear as the stone coffins they had passed earlier began to move. Lids slid aside slowly, grinding against stone. One by one, the guardians rose. Figures taller than any human, wrapped in dark bands, stepped out. Their eyes opened, glowing with steady light. Dust fell from their ancient wrappings, yet their movements were strong, as if no time had passed. The explorers froze. Their lamps shook in their hands. Aaron forced himself to stay calm. He raised his hand, not as a weapon but as a sign of peace. The guardians surrounded them silently. Their faces were hidden under layers, but their eyes shone like fire. None spoke. None made sound, only heavy steps that echoed like drums. They formed a wide circle around the humans, cutting off escape. Ryan whispered, "They are alive." All this time, they were alive. Myra's hands trembled on her tools, but she kept them down. She remembered how the carvings showed trials and judgments. She leaned closer to Aaron. "Do not show fear. They are watching us, testing us." Aaron nodded. His heart raced, but his mind stayed steady. He looked at the guardians and spoke in clear voice. "We came as seekers, not enemies. We wish to learn, not to destroy." For a long moment, nothing happened. The guardians stood motionless, their glowing eyes fixed on the humans. Then, slowly, one of them raised its hand. The walls of the hall shifted with a grinding sound. Panels slid aside, revealing new murals. The explorers turned to see. The images were alive with light, brighter than before. They showed the history of the guardians. Armies of wrapped figures fought in the stars. They guarded temples and crystals on many worlds. At the end of the murals, they stood beside a pyramid like this one, waiting in silence. The meaning was clear. The guardians were soldiers of an ancient empire, chosen to guard knowledge and power for eternity. The explorers watched in awe. Ryan whispered the words that came to his mind. "They want us to understand who they are. They are not here to strike us. They are here to see if we are worthy." The crystal pulsed again, and the hum filled the chamber. The guardians moved closer, their circle tightening. Aaron felt his breath grow heavy. He knew this was no random moment. It was a trial. He spoke again. "We respect your duty. We will not break what you guard. But let us learn. Let us carry your story to our world." The guardians gave no reply, but their steps slowed. One by one, they lowered their arms. Then they turned, pointing toward another passage at the far end of the hall. Their meaning was simple. The humans were allowed to go deeper. Relief washed over the explorers. They exchanged quick looks, their fear mixing with wonder. Myra whispered, "We passed the first test." Aaron nodded, but his eyes stayed sharp. "This is only the beginning." They will watch us every step. With careful steps, the humans followed the path the guardians revealed. Behind them, the tall figures remained still, their glowing eyes never leaving the explorers. The silence was heavy, but it carried no attack, only judgment. The team crossed into the new passage, their hearts pounding. They had awakened the guardians of the lost pyramid of shadows, and now every move they made would decide their fate. The new passage stretched into darkness, but the explorers walked with steady steps. Behind them, the guardians did not follow, yet their glowing eyes seemed to remain in memory. Each explorer felt as if unseen watchers still walked at their backs. The air grew colder as they moved deeper, and the sound of their boots echoed against stone. Aaron kept his lamp high, scanning the walls. The carvings here were different from those they had seen before. These were not scenes of war or power. Instead, they showed the guardians standing in rows, their heads bowed, as if waiting for orders. Beside them were human-like figures kneeling, smaller in size but drawn with respect. Ryan touched the carvings gently. His voice carried quiet wonder. They were not only warriors. They were protectors. Look here, the smaller figures may be other species they defended. Perhaps even humans long ago. Myra frowned as she checked the fading light of her lamp. If that is true, then why guard this place in silence for ages? What are they protecting us from, or preparing us for? The passage opened into another chamber, larger than the last. Torches carved from stone lined the walls, yet they burned with no fire. Instead, each torch held a crystal glowing with soft white light. The chamber looked alive though no hand had touched it in centuries. At the center stood a tall statue. It was shaped like the guardians but grander, with arms raised high. In its chest was set a crystal larger than any they had seen. It pulsed faintly, as if it shared the same heartbeat as the one in the main hall. The explorers circled the statue. Ryan studied the base, where long lines of symbols stretched in neat rows. "This is a message," he said. "It speaks of a choice. Those who enter must prove strength, wisdom, and unity. Only then will the guardians reveal the final secret." Myra sighed. So the guardians are not only soldiers. They are judges. The group grew quiet as the weight of those words sank in. They had passed one test when the guardians let them enter deeper, but more trials waited. Aaron knew there was no turning back. Curiosity burned too strong, and the pyramid itself seemed alive, urging them onward. Suddenly, the crystal in the statue's chest brightened. The ground trembled softly. The torches on the walls flared brighter, and the silence broke with a sound like whispering wind. From the shadows at the far corners of the chamber, more guardians stepped forward. Their eyes glowed steadily, yet they made no move to harm. They walked slowly, forming two lines on either side of the explorers. Their silence was heavy, but their presence was not hostile. It was as if they meant to guide. They raised their arms together, pointing toward another archway at the back of the chamber. Aaron's chest tightened. They want us to continue. They will not speak, but their meaning is clear. The explorers shared nervous glances. Myra whispered, "Every step feels like a trial, but the trials are hidden. We do not know what is tested." Ryan shook his head. "Perhaps that is the trial. They judge us not by strength but by choices. Fear, greed, or wisdom, our path will show who we are." The team gathered their courage and moved between the two lines of silent guardians. The tall figures stood motionless, their glowing eyes fixed ahead. The explorers could feel the weight of judgment in that silence. Every breath, every step seemed louder under the watchful presence. Beyond the archway, the passage led them into a circular hall. The floor was covered in tiles arranged in a pattern of stars. The ceiling glowed faintly, showing constellations that none of them recognized. At the center of the hall stood 3 stone doors, each marked with a symbol. The first door showed an image of fire. The second showed water. The third showed a rising sun. The explorers stopped, unsure. Myra stepped forward, scanning the doors. Each one leads to a different trial. That is what the message meant. We must choose. Aaron's face was calm, though his heart raced. He studied the symbols carefully. Fire may mean strength. Water may mean patience or wisdom. The sun may mean unity or renewal. Whatever the meaning, our choice will shape what follows. The guardians had not followed them into the hall, yet the explorers felt their silent presence close. The decision lay only in human hands. Ryan looked at his companions. The stories on the walls showed war, but also protection. They respected not only strength but wisdom. If we choose fire, we may face a battle we cannot win. If we choose water, perhaps we face puzzles. The sun may test us as a group. Myra nodded. We should not seek to prove strength alone. We must show them what makes us human: our unity. Aaron listened and then placed his hand on the door of the rising sun. The stone trembled, and the door began to slide open. Warm light spilled into the hall, and the sound of rushing air filled their ears. The explorers exchanged quick looks, their hearts heavy with both fear and hope. Aaron spoke firmly. We face the trial of the sun. Whatever waits, we go together. The group stepped into the light. Behind them, the silent guardians remained in the shadows, their eyes glowing like stars. They spoke no word, yet their silence carried meaning. The humans had chosen, and the judgment would continue. The light from the doorway of the rising sun surrounded the explorers as they stepped forward. Warm air brushed against their faces, carrying the scent of stone mixed with something old, like dry earth. The passage led into a wide chamber where the floor shone like polished glass. Strange lights moved across the surface, forming patterns that shifted like stars in the night sky. The explorers paused, unsure of what they faced. Aaron raised his lamp, but the glow was faint here. The chamber itself seemed to make its own light. Myra touched the floor with her boot, and the pattern rippled like water. Ryan's eyes widened as he studied the shifting designs. These are constellations. But they are not Earth stars. These belong to another sky, perhaps the one the builders called home. Before they could study further, the chamber changed. The light on the floor grew stronger, and shadows rose from it as if pulled from the explorers themselves. The shadows twisted, took shape, and began to move. In moments, each explorer stood facing a dark figure shaped like their own body, but taller, sharper, and filled with glowing eyes. Myra gasped. They are copies of us. Aaron gripped his pack strap, his voice calm but firm. This is the trial. We face not monsters but our own shadows. The dark figures advanced silently. They moved with the same steps as the explorers, almost as if mirroring every action. Aaron lifted his hand, and his shadow lifted its own. Myra stepped back, and her shadow moved closer. The chamber seemed alive, testing them through these silent reflections. Ryan spoke quickly, his voice steady despite fear. They are not meant to destroy us. They are meant to judge how we act when faced with ourselves. The first test came suddenly. One of the shadow figures split into 3, blocking Myra's path. The glass floor shook, and cracks spread outward. She froze, fear rising in her chest. Aaron shouted to her. Do not run. Face it. Myra stood tall, forcing herself to step forward. The three shadows moved closer, but she held her ground, raising her hands with calm. Slowly, the shadows faded back into one and returned to stillness. The cracks in the floor healed. Myra breathed deeply, relief filling her chest. Then the trial turned to Ryan. His shadow grew taller, towering over him with burning eyes. It raised its arm, pointing to the stars on the floor. The constellations shifted into strange puzzles, lines breaking and reforming. The symbols demanded answers. Ryan knelt quickly, studying them with sharp eyes. His hands traced the glowing lines as he muttered to himself. They want me to remember. Knowledge is the key. For long minutes, he worked, connecting lines and forming patterns that matched the murals they had seen earlier. When he placed his hand on the final star, the puzzle shone bright, and his shadow bowed its head before fading into silence. The last test came for Aaron. His shadow did not split or grow. Instead, it stood close, mirroring him exactly. Its glowing eyes stared into his, and the chamber grew colder. The walls shifted, showing images of battles, death, and endless war. The shadow raised a hand toward these scenes, as if asking him to choose. Aaron felt the weight of command. He was the leader, and his choices had brought his team here. If he chose wrongly, they would all be lost. His heart told him the trial was not about strength or fear but about unity. He stepped back and placed a hand on Myra's shoulder, then on Ryan's. He spoke firmly, his voice carrying through the chamber. We do not stand alone. We pass this trial together. At once, the shadows of Myra and Ryan stepped beside his. The three human figures faced their dark copies as one. The glowing eyes of the shadows dimmed, and then the dark shapes melted into the floor, leaving only light. The chamber grew still. The patterns of stars aligned into one great circle, glowing bright. At its center appeared a path of golden light leading to another doorway. The explorers stood together, their hearts racing. They had faced fear, knowledge, and unity, and they had not fallen. The pyramid had tested them and found them worthy to continue. Myra whispered, "The trial is past." They wanted to see if we could face ourselves, not only enemies. Ryan nodded. It is a lesson. The greatest danger to humanity may not come from outside but from within. Aaron looked at the glowing path ahead. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with determination. We passed this test, but more waits. The Guardians do not give their secrets easily. We must be ready for what comes next. The explorers gathered their packs and stepped onto the golden path. Their lamps flickered, but the chamber itself lit their way. The doorway ahead opened slowly, revealing deeper halls of the pyramid. Behind them, the floor dimmed, hiding the trial of shadows once more. The humans walked forward, knowing each step brought them closer to the heart of the lost pyramid of shadows. The golden path led the explorers into a vast chamber unlike any they had seen before. The walls were smooth and covered with intricate carvings that glowed softly. At the center, a massive crystal engine rose from the floor. Its light pulsed like a heartbeat, sending waves of warmth and energy through the chamber. The hum they had heard throughout the pyramid was strongest here, surrounding them with a feeling of immense power. Aaron stepped closer, careful not to touch the crystal. His eyes widened as he took in its size. It was taller than a building, made of a single transparent material filled with a swirling light. He could feel the energy radiating from it, not just through their bodies but in their minds. "This is it," Myra whispered, her voice filled with awe. This crystal is the source of everything in this pyramid. It keeps it alive and powers the guardians. Ryan moved closer to the walls, studying the carvings. These murals tell the history, he said. Long ago, the builders of this pyramid feared a rising race in the galaxy. They wanted to protect knowledge and power. These guardians were created not to destroy, but to judge anyone who came here. The explorers slowly walked around the crystal. Its hum grew louder with every step, as if it responded to their presence. Aaron reached out, nearly touching the surface. A wave of energy passed through him, showing visions of the past. He saw tall figures like the Guardians standing over cities, flying starships across planets, and protecting ancient knowledge from destruction. Myra gasped. They were not evil. They were protectors. And these Guardians have waited for us, maybe for centuries, to see if we are worthy. The crystal pulsed again, brighter this time. Suddenly, the stone coffins along the chamber walls began to glow. Faint light shimmered along the wrappings of the guardians inside. One by one, they rose slightly, their eyes blinking open. The explorers froze, but the guardians did not attack. Instead, they stepped back, forming a circle around the crystal. Ryan whispered, "They are acknowledging us. They are waiting to see what we do next." Aaron looked at his team. "We must be careful. This is their world, and they are its protectors. We cannot take this power without showing respect." Myra nodded. "We came to learn, not steal. The murals showed us that. The Guardians want to see our intentions." Aaron stepped forward and spoke loudly, his voice steady. "We are explorers. We seek knowledge and understanding. We do not come to harm, but to learn. If you judge us worthy, we will honor your work and share it responsibly with humanity." For a long moment, the crystal pulsed slowly. The Guardians remained still, their glowing eyes fixed on the humans. Then, one of the figures raised a hand, pointing toward the murals. The walls shifted, revealing images of other pyramids, other guardians, and civilizations that had risen and fallen under their protection. Ryan studied the images. The pyramid was a test. The guardians judge not by strength, but by wisdom and respect. They want to know if we can handle the responsibility of what lies here. Myra stepped closer to the crystal. She placed her hand gently on the smooth surface. Energy flowed through her, but it did not harm. Instead, she felt knowledge entering her mind, secrets of science, energy, and history that humans had never known. Her eyes widened as she realized how powerful this pyramid could make their world if used wisely. Aaron touched the crystal as well, feeling the power and understanding the risk. He knew that if they took the energy without care, it could awaken the Guardians' anger. But if they acted with respect, the pyramid could become humanity's greatest gift. The Guardians moved closer, forming a tighter circle. Their eyes glowed brighter, scanning the humans' faces. The message was clear: the humans would be judged here, at the heart of the pyramid. Ryan spoke quietly. "We have passed the previous trials, but this is the final test. The pyramid will see if we are worthy to carry this knowledge. If we act with greed or fear, we fail." Aaron looked around at his team. Myra and Ryan nodded back, their faces calm but determined. Together, they stepped fully into the circle, showing unity. They did not reach for the crystal recklessly. They did not speak of taking it. They only stood together, showing respect and courage. The crystal pulsed one last time, and the hum filled the chamber. The Guardians bowed slightly, acknowledging their worth. The light of the crystal brightened, showing them visions of the galaxy and humanity's potential. They understood now that humans could rise, could protect, and could use this knowledge wisely. Aaron whispered, "We have been judged. They trust us." Myra smiled softly. "The knowledge is ours to carry, but we must be careful. It is a gift, not a weapon." The team stepped back, taking a final look at the crystal. The Guardians returned to their coffins, slowly lying down, their eyes dimming but still glowing faintly. The hum decreased, and the chamber returned to a calm, quiet state. Aaron turned to his team. "We will leave the pyramid soon, but we take its wisdom with us. Humanity has been tested, and we have proven ourselves. The galaxy may not yet know it, but humans are ready." The explorers began their journey back through the halls, hearts full of awe and minds brimming with knowledge. The lost Pyramid of Shadows had revealed its heart, and humanity had earned its respect. The explorers stood at the heart of the pyramid one last time, their eyes fixed on the massive crystal engine. The hum had returned to a gentle pulse, and the light bathed the chamber in soft warmth. The Guardians lay still in their coffins, as if waiting for the humans to decide what they would do next. Aaron turned to Myra and Ryan. "We have learned what this pyramid holds. We have passed the trials, faced our fears, and earned their trust. Now we must decide how to use this knowledge." Myra looked at the crystal, her fingers brushing the air as if she could feel its energy without touching it. "We could take the power, bring it to our world, change everything instantly. But the Guardians would not allow it lightly. If we act selfishly, they may awaken fully, and we could lose more than we gain." Ryan nodded slowly. "The murals told us their story. They created these Guardians not to punish, but to teach. This pyramid is a test of humanity itself. We have the choice to take and use wisely, or take and risk everything." Aaron studied the crystal, feeling its warmth and power. He could imagine the possibilities: cities powered by clean energy, ships traveling the stars, diseases cured with advanced science. But he also felt the weight of responsibility. The knowledge here was not meant for those who rushed or acted without care. He spoke with firm clarity. "We came seeking answers, not power. We cannot take this without respect for what it represents. We must learn from it, record it, and share it carefully with humanity. That is the only way we honor the Guardians' trust." Myra smiled softly. "Then we honor both the pyramid and our world. Knowledge without wisdom can be dangerous. But guided knowledge can help everyone." Ryan stepped forward, placing his hand near the crystal without touching it. Images of the galaxy filled his mind: planets thriving with life, humans traveling with hope, civilizations growing stronger together. He realized that the pyramid was not a trap, but a gift, testing whether humanity was ready for this responsibility. The crystal pulsed brighter, sending waves of light across the chamber. The Guardians stirred in their coffins, lifting their heads and opening their glowing eyes. But instead of hostility, their eyes showed recognition. Slowly, they rose, forming a circle around the humans, standing silently as witnesses to their choice. Aaron spoke again. "We will carry your wisdom with care. We will protect it, learn from it, and only share it when it can help, not harm. We do this not for ourselves, but for humanity." The Guardians looked at each other, then bowed slightly. Their bodies shimmered as if accepting the decision. One by one, they returned to their coffins, lying down with a final pulse of light. The chamber fell silent, and the hum of the crystal returned to its gentle rhythm. The pyramid had accepted the human's choice. Myra turned to Aaron. "We did it. They trusted us. That trust is more valuable than the power itself. Ryan nodded. We now have a responsibility. The knowledge here is a gift, but it comes with duty. We must teach humanity to grow wisely, to reach for the stars without greed or fear. Aaron led the team back through the winding halls. The golden path from the Trial of Shadows shimmered faintly behind them. They passed murals, pillars, and halls that had tested them, each step filled with respect for the guardians who had waited so long. As they emerged into the desert sunlight, the pyramid stood silent, glowing faintly under the bright sky. The sand covered its lower walls, hiding the secrets below. The explorers looked at it one last time, feeling awe and gratitude. Humanity had been judged worthy, but it was only the beginning. Aaron spoke softly, "We leave with more than knowledge. We leave with a promise to use it wisely. The pyramid has given us hope, guidance, and a challenge. It is up to us to answer it well." Myra adjusted her pack. "And one day, perhaps humanity will return, not as seekers, but as guardians themselves, ready to protect knowledge for the future." Ryan added, "The galaxy is waiting. And now, humans have shown that they are ready to step forward." The team began their journey home, each step filled with determination and purpose. The desert stretched wide before them, but the pyramid remained behind, its shadow long and silent. The guardians rested once more, content that their test had been passed, knowing that humans could carry the knowledge forward with wisdom and courage. As the explorers walked, Aaron felt a sense of peace. They had faced fear, solved trials, and met beings beyond imagination. Humanity had been judged and had proven itself capable of rising. The stars ahead were no longer distant or unreachable. They were a path, waiting for those who dared to walk it with respect, courage, and unity. And in the heart of the lost pyramid of shadows, the crystal pulsed quietly, a steady heartbeat of ancient wisdom, ready for the humans who were now worthy to learn from it. The journey of discovery was not over. It had only begun.